at professional standards, and these standards are good because when you are talking about concepts, it's nice you apply them with some standards to show that you understand the concept very graphically. So we'll be looking at some of these standards, even though they are long. And I don't know, the last class you said they are not boring, but to me they are boring. But then we'll try to make them fun for us.
Okay.
Last class you enjoyed them. You said it was not boring. I mean, I find it boring.
You mean standards?
Yes, the standards.
Was I maybe I was sleeping? Was I awake when I said it is not boring?
I was saying it was boring, and you're like, well, it doesn't sound boring much to you. You said you kind of.
It's not boring, but it's important. God, boring. Hi, I refuse to give the name boring so that you'll not be boring.
It's true, Sha. Whatever name you call it.
And it's so important.
Yeah.
I say 200. I say all these plenty things. How will somebody learn them? How?
That is it, because they can be very much, and the application can be challenging if you don't practice frequently. Exactly. Okay, I'll try to align them more with practice.
I remember what I said was not boring. It was not ISA. It was the calculation we were doing for this thing. Case study. Case study is not boring. ISA. We didn't talk about ISA. ISA is hard. Only how I learn all these things.
Oh, the ISAs. Oh, you learn them with the past questions as they are coming with the exams.
Okay.
Get them.
Great.
Yeah, so we looked at the first unit, or the first section, which is international standard setting process. And we talked about how it's set, how the exposure draft is released, and we talked about the final comments, how related parties provide their inputs before a standard is released. So today we're looking at the preface to international standards on quality control, auditing, review, and other assurance and related standards. So we'll look at them. This second session is a bit lengthy because they have a lot of standards, and we'll do our quiz after this. So let's be a bit faster because we are still in chapter 2 and we have 16 chapters in AAA to look at. I just hope we finish before the exams, and we have intermittent mock exams. But then we'll see how to fasten up. But we don't want to rush so that as we are rushing, we are not understanding what we are doing. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So we'll take our time, we'll be fast, but then let's see how we can catch up and cover 16 chapters before end of April. Okay, so we're looking at the preface to international standards and the issues with the International Audit and Assurance Standard Board on the number of international standards that they added to the International Standards of Auditing. We'll see from a table how these standards include international standards on auditing, and when the preface say they are to be applied. So the application of these standards is very important for us, and they help us to graphically understand the standards in practice. So we're looking at the type of standards. The ISAs, looking at when applied. So for the ISAs, in the audit of historical financial information, we apply the ISAs. So ISAs are not pre-application standards. So after financial statements are prepared, we apply the standards to be able to audit them. That's what it means. So you don't use ISAs like IFRS. IFRS are used on financial statements to apply during the preparation, but the ISAs are used after the preparation of audit information. This is very important to take note of that. So the international standards on review engagements are also in the review of historical financial information. So international standard on review engagements, which are ISREs, are applied after or during the review of historical financial information. So when you are reviewing financial statements that have been prepared, you apply the international standards on review engagement on them. And for the international standards on assurance engagement, ISAEs, in audit assurance engagement or other audits or reviews of historical financial information, we apply them also during the audits. So during the reviews, as they are on real time, we apply these standards. So we're typically looking at these international standards and when. So for the ISAs, it's after the audits or the preparation of financial statements have been done. For the international standards on related services, these are standards that guide compilation engagements. Remember in chapter 1, we talked about compilation engagements, and the engagements to apply agreed upon procedures to information and other related services are during the engagement. So these standards are only restricted to compilation engagements. The last one is the international standards on quality control. They are for all the above services, which starts from ISAs down to ISRS. So quality control is very important in auditing, and they apply graphically to the 4 previous standards we talked about. So the type and the application is very important, and we'll be looking at some of them very graphically. So in addition to this preface, certain ISREs, ISAs, ISRS, and ISQ1 are examinable in this paper. So take note of it. These 4 standards or standard setting processes are examinable in this paper. They are also covered in later chapters that we'll be looking at subsequently. So as discussed above, the International Audit and Assurance Standard Board's pronouncement do not overrule local laws. So take note of that. So for example, in Nigeria, the standards on auditing previously, or Nigerian standards of auditing, just align more with the international standards on auditing, but the international standards don't overrule them. They just complement them, and they align or complement each other to make sure that they have global benchmarks and applicability. This is very important. So ISAs don't overrule local standards of the country specific. They only complement them. This is very important to note. So if local laws and regulations differ from or conflict with the ISAs provided by the International Audit and Assurance Standard Board standard, then the professional accountant should not state that he has complied with the IAASB standard. So when you have conflict with both your local laws, like we have in Nigeria before ISAs, the Nigerian standards on auditing, it is recommended that the ISAs supersede your local laws. And if you decide to go with your local laws as the country specific choice, then you cannot say you have applied the International Audit and Assurance Standards Board standard, which are the ISAs. So the alignment and the complementary nature of both standards should come to bear, where it will be said that the ISAs have been applied with or complied with graphically to be able to provide international comparison. This is very important. So unless the accountant has fully complied with all those relevant to the engagement, he cannot say he has complied with the IAS or IAASBs or ISAs. So it's important that during audit engagements or other assurance engagements, we need to comply with ISAs to provide international recognition and the relevance to our engagements. So talking about the ISAs, they are written in the context of an audit of financial statements by an independent auditor. So we're talking of external audits now, or external auditors applying these standards and not internal auditors. The internal auditors don't use this standard, but the external auditors who are independent of the organization. Internal auditors too are independent, but to some extent. But full independence is really ensured by external auditors because they are outside the company they audit, and they are to use ISAs for their audit assignments. They are to be adapted as necessary when applied to audits of other historical financial statements. So the adaptation of ISAs are very important for the audit of financial statements. In the preparation, in the review of financial statements, these standards come to bear. They are to be applied very, very practically. So each ISA contains an introduction, objectives and definition where necessary. Requirements which are shown by the word shall and are to be applied as relevant to the audit are also graphically stated. So that word shall, take note of that, is very important. So requirements which are shown by the word shall shows affirmation that you need to apply this standard here very consciously. Not may, not should, but you see shall, it's an affirmative statement and are to be applied as relevant to the audit. So wherever ISAs are pronounced and issued as standards, the auditor shall apply that as he's doing his audit work. This is very important. So the application and other explanation material, which is for guidance only, is provided in the ISAs. So this structure across, this structure arose out of the work carried out as part of the International Audit and Assurance Standard Board's Clarity Project. So let's look at it. The International Standards on Quality Control. So we shall apply all these services as carried out under the IAASB's engagement, which includes the ISAs, ISREs, ISAs, and the ISRS. So the quality assurance standards are to be applied across these four standards. So like we saw in that table earlier, quality assurance is very important for any engagement and for all the other standards we've looked at, whether it's compilation engagement, whether it's assurance engagement, whether it's review of standards. Quality is very, very important. And that is why the international standards on quality control applies graphically to all of the four standard setting process. Excuse me. Okay, so other international standards, we have the other international standards, which are the ISREs, ISAs, and ISRS, follow the format of the original international standards on auditing. So these other three review standards, they follow the format of ISAs very graphically. They are the same format exactly. They contain basic principles and essential procedures identified in bold type and by the word should. So take note, it's not shall now. Auditors should use it. And this statement is, will I put it as a choice statement, and related guidance in the form of explanatory and other material are included in these standards, which includes appendices for reference. This is very important. So the basic principle and procedures must be followed in exceptional circumstances. A professional accountant may judge it necessary not to follow a relevant essential procedure in order to achieve their objectives. And that's why that statement should said, okay, you should use your judgment if it applies graphically, that you can use these standards to carry out your audit work. So where it's not practically applicable to use that standard, your judgment should come in, but you should be able to achieve your objectives. And wherever we have exceptional circumstance where you can apply these standards graphically, then you need to state it there that these exceptional circumstances warranted you not to follow the standard holistically, and it will provide context to why the standard was not followed. So in these exceptional circumstances, the auditor must be prepared to justify the departure from the requirements of the standard. Exactly. So we need to justify it. So for example, in Nigeria, where we don't have standards covering petroleum, upstream and downstream, we should be able to justify that, okay, there are no standards covering this, and want to use our Nigerian standards on auditing or the judgment we provide based on our principle-based judgment. So we must justify that to help speak to the departure from the requirements of these standards we use. So now talking about our professional judgments as accountants and in the application of international standards. The professional accountant should exercise professional judgment in applying them. This is very important. So the rigor of our training and our experience will help us marry them together. Our training and our experience will help us be able to judge practically and applicably to that situation we found ourselves. So professional judgment is key and is very, very important. So take note of that in this little preface we looked at. I don't know if you have questions. Aisha just came in. You're welcome. I was speaking, that's why I didn't welcome you. Welcome to the call, Aisha. Nice to have you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So we're talking about the preface to international standards. I was a bit rushy, but then I believe you're able to catch one or two thoughts on what I said on the preface to international standards, on auditing, review, and other assurance and related engagements. So we just spoke to them. Do we have any questions on this?
I just want to. Oh, sorry. I just want some little clarification. Is it that the ISA standards they use the word should for auditors? What auditors are obtained to do, obliged to do. They should do this, they should do that. Why? While ISREs, all those ones use the prefix shall. Is that what it says?
Good question.
I understood from what I heard.
Okay, so I like that question, a very good question. So going back to that slide that said it. So now each ISRs, when you hear shall, it's a compulsory statement, not compelling you to by force, but it is expected that you shall use the ISRs during your job in the application of the standards and during the work of review of financial statements. So shall is, I won't say it's a must statement, but it is expected of you. So that is for the international standards on auditing. So your judgment is not necessary here. So you may not be able to bend the standards to suit your situation. You shall. Shall is saying, please go ahead and apply this. It is applicable graphically.
Okay, it's one-way application.
Exactly. So now let's go to the statement of should, and this is where your judgment may come in. So going back to the statement of should, let's go to the slide that said that. So now the other international standards like the international standards on review engagement, international standards on assurance engagement, international standards on related services, these three you should be able to apply them with your judgment. So these three is not a shall. You can see that they contain basic principles and essentials, so they're like a guide, but then you should apply them. And where there is a deviation and you cannot apply them graphically because of your situation and circumstance, you should be able to use your professional judgment. And that is why the judgment comes here, talking about your training and your experience and how you can bring it to bear to help you apply those three standards graphically, and you should be able to justify them at the same time. So in answering your question quickly, so for ISAs, you shall, no question. But for the other three, look at the quality control, and you are guided by the highest standards of internal quality control. Then ensure that three of them, if any engagement warrants you using them, you should use them. You should, but if you can't practically, your professional judgment should come in. Yeah, so I believe that answered the question.
Yes, thank you so much.
I like that, because I know that question comes out once in a while, and it's also in the next quiz question. So when you said that, I said, did I shall see the quiz questions? So that shall whatever was tested, and it's also tested in the main exams. So we'll look at the quiz and see if we can get it practically. All right, Julie, let me go for your question next, please.
It's almost the same thing that she asked concerning that IS and ISRE. For accounting, we have IS, we have
IFRS.
IFRS, exactly. Is it about the same thing here?
Okay, so IFRS, yeah, please go ahead.
Like now you have ISRE, but during our lectures and everything, I've never seen ISRE anywhere. Only see ISA. Not in ISAA. I mean, are they really, do people really use them?
Yeah, so the ISAs are different from IFRSs. IFRSs are prepared by IAASB, International Accounting Standard Board, but the ISAs, auditing standards, are prepared by IAASB, International Audit and Assurance Standard Board. There are two committees differently, but both under IFAC. So the committees are different. Then these other three standards are also prepared by IAASB. So all these other three standards, review engagements, assurance engagements, and related services, yes, they exist. It's just that they are not as prominent as ISAs. So ISAs guide audit generally, exactly. So ISAs guide audit generally, while these ones guide the other services that ISAs do not cover.
Okay.
Yes,
But under audits, of course.
Of course, exactly, under audits, exactly. So 4 of them are regulated by international standards on quality control.
And this IASAE and ISRS, they have 200, 100. They have quite a number, just like ISAS, sorry.
Exactly. Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
good questions. Yeah, good questions. Thanks for bringing it on. It shows we are really following. So you're welcome, Timothy. Nice to have you on the call. Even though you came a bit late, how was work today?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, you're
Fine,
welcome.
sir. Sorry, sir.
No problem. How was work today?
Fine, sir.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so we just almost finished one section of Unit 2. We are on Unit 2.2, Preface of International Standards on Quality Control, Audit, Review, and Assurance. So we are on our quiz now. So you may just follow the quiz, then go back to the video later. Okay, so question 1. Which of the following international standards apply specifically to the audit of historical financial information? A. International standards on review engagements. B. Let me pick my pen so that I take note. We have 3 people in the class. B. International standards on assurance engagements. C. International standards on auditing. D. International standards of quality control. So which of the following international standards apply specifically to the audit of historical information? So number 1, I have J.
Let me try. C.
Okay, then I have Timothy T. Then I have Aisha A. So JTA. So J picked what?
I picked C.
Okay, so T picked C first. So A, what did A pick? Aisha, what do you pick?
ISA. C. International standards on auditing.
Okay, so we have triple C. All right, we'll see the answer. Timothy, how did you pick C and everybody followed you? Though they didn't follow you, Shadi, you were in the class.
We didn't follow him, we know the answer.
They didn't follow you, so you know the answer.
The thing is that I just looked at, okay, this is audit. This is historical information. Yeah. This is ISA that we use for audits. That was just what I...
We'll see now. We'll see whether you got it or if people got it. We'll see.
All right.
The answer. Okay. So the next one, number 2. What word is used in ISAs to indicate a mandatory requirement? I like that word, mandatory.
So your slide has not changed.
Oh, my. Okay.
I've seen it too.
Okay. I may have to wait for you. Can you log off and come back, please?
Oh, wow.
Yes. So go out and come back since Julie can see it. Timothy, can you see it moving?
Yes, sir. Definitely, I can.
Okay. So let's wait for Aisha. Let her log out and come back so that we can follow through. I like that word, mandatory. I didn't use it when I was teaching. Did I use the word mandatory, Julie?
I can't remember mandatory.
I don't think I remember using the word. That's the graphical word to use. But then I don't know the answer, so I don't know. What word is used in ISAs to indicate a mandatory requirement that must be applied as relevant to an audit? Okay, so Aisha is back. Let's see. So A, should. B, must. C, shall. D, could. J, T, C. Okay, I know Julie should get this one.
I hope so. C. I got C.
Timothy, what's your speak?
I'm still trying to follow up.
I know you came late. Okay, so Aisha, let me ask, can you view it now?
Okay, yes, I can now.
Okay,
What
good. So now, so number 2, let me go over it again since you are back. What word is used in ISAs to indicate a mandatory requirement that must be applied as relevant to an audit? A, should. B, must.
C
shall. Okay. All right. That was so fast. Timothy, do you want to make a pick? Then we'll look at the answer later.
Well, let me just make a D. Let me just make a P.
D, are you sure? Final answer.
It's actually the guesswork. That's the honest truth.
Let me do like Frank and Devil. Okay, so you go for D. All right, that's fine.
It's a guesswork, actually.
All right, we'll see. Number 3, which of the following international standards apply to all services carried out under the International Audit and Assurance Standards Board's engagement standards? Which of the following international standards applies to all services carried out under the International Audit and Assurance Standard Board's engagement services? ISAs, ISREs, ISQCs, and ISRSs. Which one applies to all? ISAs. Okay, so
ISA.
J picked, T picked A picked A. So what did J pick?
I put B.
Okay, J picked B. Okay, so we'll see BAA. So I'll suggest you look at it again before you answer. Which of the following international standards apply to all services carried out under the IAASB's engagement standards? A, ISAs. B, ISREs. C, ISQCs, ISRS. Okay, so let me explain the acronyms. International Standards on Auditing, International Standards on Review Engagement, International Standards on Quality Control, and International Standards on Reviews Standards. Review of related services. Sorry, related services, exactly. So what's your pick? Are you still going with BAA for JTA? Are you guys still staying with BAA?
I think I'll go with C for quality control.
Okay, so Aisha has changed. A has changed to C. Julie, are you changing your mind?
I'll still stick to B.
Okay, Timothy, are you changing your mind?
I stick to A.
Stick to A. So BOC, only BAC, only Aisha changed her mind. All right, we'll see. Number 4, according to the IAASB's pronouncements. I hope my screen is toggling for everybody.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Aisha, confirm
mine is a bit slow. Mine is a bit slow.
I guess
my network is bad.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay,
let me just. Okay, good. According to the IAASB's pronouncement, when can a professional accountant state compliance with IAASB's standards? So, according to the International Audit and Assurance Standard Board's pronouncement, when can a professional accountant state compliance with International Audit and Standards Board standards? A, when local laws and IAASB standards are different. B, when they have fully complied with all relevant IAASB standards. C, when they follow at least 50% of IAASB standards. C, when they comply with only local regulations. Number 4, according to the IAASB's pronouncement. Okay, you go with
B.
I'll go with
go ahead. Okay, J, B. T.
B.
C, B, then A, also B. Okay, everybody is B. All right. Finally, what key component is not typically found in an ISA? A, introduction. B, requirements. C, case studies. D, application and other explanatory material. What key component is not typically found in an ISA? A, introduction. B, requirements. C, case studies. And D, application and other explanatory material.
I go with C.
Okay, so T is going for C. And what is J going for?
This is confusing.
Exactly.
I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess. Use a guess for B.
Okay, so A is going for B. J, are you guessing or you're still thinking?
I'll go for what key component is not typically found in an international standard on? It's not typically found. Let me go for D.
Okay, that's a guesswork to
D.
DCP. All right, that's fine. So let's review our answers quickly. Number one, the answer is C. Everybody got it. So which of the following international standards apply specifically to the audit of historical financial information? ISAs. So everybody got this. Good. Number two, which word is used in ISAs to indicate a mandatory requirement that must be applied as relevant to the audit? Shall. So T guessed only D, and that was because he was not in the class. If he was in the class, he was very, very conspicuous to fail this one. All right. So number three, the answer is C. And when Aisha said, I'm going back to C, I said, wow, that's nice, because it was stated clearly on that table. Yes, that table showed that this standard is supposed to cover. So look at the explanation. ISQCs, yes, applies to all services performed. So if you are doing ISAs, ISREs, and ISRS, you must apply the highest standards of quality control. So, yes, so that's when we said that, and that table graphically illustrated that. So I didn't expect Jade to fail this question.
When I was struggling to stay awake. Yes.
I understand. I understand. So the correct answer is C, but T guessed, so he wasn't in the class. Okay, so let's go number 4. The answer is B, and everybody got it. When they fully complied with all relevant standards. So that was clear in the class. And finally, the answer is C. Yes, and this answer was clearly stated on one of, in fact, the second to the last table. So the answer is C. And the person that guessed it, only T guessed it, and he got it. He was a guest.
No,
Yeah, so
actually,
so Julie, oh, okay. Let's go with you. Julie was trying to say something.
Okay, sorry, ma. Because the thing is, though it was tricky, but I've observed that whenever you talk to us, the case studies you bring is not usually in the standard. You have been the one that is always checking for case studies to explain many of the things you teach us.
Exactly.
That was why I incorporated. So it was not necessarily the case.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's a good one in making your pick. I like that analogy. All right, Julie, you're trying to say something.
No, I wasn't. No, I was just looking at it and trying to say, okay, applications, case studies, okay. Nothing.
Okay.
It's fun.
All right. Aisha, any comment?
I do not know why case study is not typically found. Let me just memorize it like this way.
No, don't memorize it. Let's go back to the study text so that you see where the answers are. So look at it now on this slide. I don't know if my slide has moved to slide 245. Can you see slide 245, please?
Oh, 2.2. Other international standards.
Okay, so I'm on each ISA is contained. So that's where I am. I'm sure your screen is not moving yet.
It's not.
So that's
I didn't see this one. I'm very sure I must have been asleep when this one came up.
I talked about it actually. Yeah, so you can see there's no case studies here. So this is where the question came from, and that is why you have to be awake. You don't know when an angel will be passing.
Yes, so honestly.
Exactly. So I don't know, Aisha, has your screen moved to that 245? Can you see it?
No.
Sorry, it's on slide 245. Exactly.
Let me go off and come back again, but you can go off now.
Okay. So go off and come back so that we can continue. All right. So Jay, that 60% understanding, you got 60 over 100.
I didn't
Yeah, you have 60% understanding of this section. T has also 60%. He got 3/5. You have 60% understanding of this section. Then A has 80% understanding. She's got 4/5. He has 80% understanding of this session.
And if you don't fail it.
Yeah, you guys did well, above average. 60 is a B, so it's good. Especially for T that is just coming, he didn't even attend the classes and he scored 60. Makes a lot of sense. I like that. Okay, so let's run. Let's move to the third session, the International Audit and Assurance Standard Board Clarity Project on the professional standards. Okay, so in October 2008, that's 2008, the IAASB issued a final clarity project update, slightly ahead of December 2008 date, by which this last of the clarified ISRs were to be approved by the Public Interest Oversight Board, who were in charge. Just a brief throwback on the memory lane. So the clarified international standards on auditing came into effect for audits of financial statements on 15th of December 2009. Okay, so that was when the ISRs came into effect, but it was supposed to come into effect before this date, December 2008. So it came into effect 15th December 2009.
Sorry, sir, can you go back a bit?
Okay, yep, I'm back to that slide.
Update.
Yes.
The final clarity project of what is clarity project update?
Okay, so it's the body that reviewed and provide clarity, provide light on the standards.
Okay.
So after the committee came up with the standards, IAASB board committee, the clarity of the project was also provided by that committee or the board to say that, okay, these standards, this is what they mean, this is what it represents, this is how it's supposed to do. The clarity project came after the issuance of the standards in 2008. That's what it means. So it took effect. Yeah, so it took effect on the 15th of December 2009, meaning you can apply these standards from this date globally. I hope that's clear. Hello, Julie, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I can move on, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Aisha, please confirm if you can see my screen.
I can see we're on 2.3.
Exactly. The clarified ISRs came into effect. Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me, sir. Wait, too.
Yes.
I'm a bit. I'm not confused, but I'm just wondering, why did they have to set up a board to explain all these things?
Okay. So the IFAC, International Federation of Accountants, consists of member
IFAC, Nigeria, right?
IFAC, no, IFAC globally. IFAC
global. Mm-hmm.
Yes, IFAC is a global accounting regulatory body for all member accounting bodies like ICAN, ACCA.
Okay.
And, yes, so you cannot use that kind of big committee for specific projects. So IAASB was formed with members from these bodies to be able to provide specific services in these areas. So for International Accounting Standards Board that provide IFRS, those ones are on their own. Selected members oversee that body. Then for audit and assurance, also selected experienced members globally provide this service. So it shows the importance and invaluable inputs the ISRs provide globally, and that is why these committees or the board is constituted to carry out this project. It's very important because without these standards and regulatory guidelines to help facilitate audits globally. There will be a lot of crashes. And looking at the crashes of companies, the corporate collapses over the years, the IAASB was set up to help mitigate most of these issues by coming up with these standards that will help address prevalent issues that apply graphically to companies. So to answer your questions succinctly and concisely, the board must be set up to provide them terms of reference, a charter. This is what you are to do, this is your output, and this is how they should be applied globally. Just like IFRS is the same way IAASB was set up. It's very important.
I'm done.
Okay. All right, so Aisha, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so just a little throwback. We're talking about the Clarity project to provide light on what the standards, the ISRs are all about. So it was supposed to be issued on December 2008, but they later moved it to the beginning of December 2009. Why? To provide clarity on the project. So take note of the dates, even though you may not need it in exam. ICAN will not ask you this, but then this was when you could apply ISAs globally as a standard. So take note of these dates. Yeah. Okay, so key points from this update, which gives us some background to the project, are as follows. So take note of these key points. The Clarity project was the International Audit and Standards Board 1 year, 6 months program. That's 18 months to comprehensively review all the international standards on auditing, the ones that have been issued, the international standards on quality controls, to improve their clarity and also therefore the consistency of the application. So they had 18 months before that 15th December 2009 to comprehensively review, sit down and look at the standard, expunge, add whatever it is that is necessary to provide more clarity and make it lucid for the public, therefore ensuring that it is consistently applied across board and globally. 36 clarified international standards on auditing were issued along with a clarified international standards on quality control, number 1. So the ISRs are more than 36, but as at this date, 36 were clarified by the IAASB's Clarity project. 16 of the ISRs were substantially revised as well as redrafted, and 1 new ISA, which is ISA 265, was issued as at this date. This is why, Julia, I said all these things are boring. I cannot ask you all these questions. That's why when I'm reading this, I used to find it very boring. But then it's for our information anyway. I cannot ask this kind of
they will
questions.
ask us things like that according to ISA 360, I mean
365, but nobody will ask you when was that, how many was issued, when was this. No, I cannot ask you these questions. So this is just for your information. Okay, so out of the 16, 19 ISAs were redrafted but not revised, meaning that they were.
So you said out of the 16, 19. How is it?
Sorry, out of the 36. Out of the 36. Yes, okay. Out of the 36, 16 were revised, while 19 were not revised based on the information provided. So all the clarified ISAs contain improvements, which include identification of the objective of the auditor when conducting an audit in accordance with the international standards on auditing. So this is important because after clarifying the ISAs, we need to identify the objective of the auditor when he's conducting an audit in accordance with these standards. Also, setting an objective in each international standard is also very important in clarity, in providing clarity. So the objective of each of those standards is important. Why is the standard set? What is this? What is the aim? What are the targets the standards are set to achieve is very important. Also, establishing an obligation on the auditor in relation to those objectives is also key. Establishing an obligation on the auditor. That is why that statement shall came up. Auditors need to use it. Is a mandatory requirement. So we are obliged to use those standards, especially the ISRs, in the review and audit of financial statements. So the obligation and onus is on us as auditors to review those objectives and align graphically with them. Also, another point is clarifying the objectives imposed on the auditor by the requirements of the ISRs and the language used. You can see I said it using shall instead of should. So shall is mandatory, while should is optional. Take that again. Shall is mandatory for ISRs, while should is optional. So take note, in the last session, we looked at these statements very graphically. Sorry, somebody was trying to interject. Yeah, please interject. Go ahead.
Yes, please. Is it showing 36 clarified or is left that place?
Sorry, your voice is a bit, I'm struggling to hear you. You said?
I said your screen. Are you still on the 36 clarified ISRs?
Oh, your screen is not moving. I've moved now. I'm in slide 274. Sorry, 273.
2.3.
All right, let me look that and come back.
Yeah, it's network. I'm so sorry. It's network affecting you and Aisha. Julie doesn't have that problem. Umari, welcome. Umari, can you see my slides very graphically? Aisha Rualapi Amalo Umar. Hello.
Let me answer. Good evening, sir.
Welcome as well. Sorry, Julie, I'm speaking.
Good evening,
outside.
sir.
Good evening. You're welcome.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, I'm speaking outside. So no, there's Umar. Can you see my screen?
I can see it, sir. I just joined the class.
Yes. I noticed when you came in. Are you on slide 272? Can you see my slide?
Yes, I can see it. Clarifying the obligation imposed on auditor.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, that's right. That means you and Julie don't have issues with the screen moving. It's Timothy and Aisha that are having challenge with my screen moving.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's try and manage and see if all right, Aisha, are you back? Timothy, please confirm you can see slide 272, please.
I can see
Unfortunately, I
2.3.
cannot see anything.
Okay.
Oh wow. This network.
I'm just saying his name.
Maybe
I'm just saying
are you using a laptop or using your phone?
I'm actually using my phone. My laptop is down.
Okay. It should be easier with the phone.
Yes. So Julie, I think it's a network challenge.
It's a network thing, yes.
Yeah, it's a network thing. Timothy, confirm you can see the screen.
Or can you change your
I'm
position?
clarifying the obligation imposed on auditor by
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That's where we are. So it's only Aisha now that is having a challenge. Julie is trying to recommend a solution.
Can you change your
I'm
position?
changing the position. I'm doing that now.
Okay.
Just go ahead. I'll catch up.
Okay, thank you for that, Julie. So we're talking about clarifying the obligation, and that statement for ISRs are very important. You shall is mandatory, and you should is optional. So take note of it. ISRs are to be applied without any professional judgment or prejudice or choice. Very important. Also, eliminating ambiguity about the requirements which an auditor needs to fulfill. So most of the ISRs eliminated any form of unclarified word or uncomprehensive language. And that is why the Review and Clarity Project was there to make it seamlessly comprehensive for all auditors that read it, should be able to easily decipher it if you've gone through training and some experience. The words are not ambiguous, they are concise, they are clear and decipherable. So they eliminated all ambiguities and helps the auditor to look at those requirements and apply them seamlessly. And that's why the Clarity Project was there to eliminate every ambiguities. All right, so the international standards on auditing have a new structure with the introduction. We look at that in the last session. introductory material. We looked at the objectives, the requirements, and application and other explanatory material presented in separate sections in the ISRs. So, summary of the main changes in the new ISRs are thus. The summary covers only the ISRs which were redrafted and revised. Remember, we said 19 were redrafted, 16 were revised, not those that were redrafted only. Okay, so the summary does not. Okay, yeah, go ahead, please interject. Feel free to interject.
16 were revised, 19 were not.
Were redrafted. Yes, were not, exactly.
Okay, no. 16 were revised.
Yes.
But the remaining 19 nothing was done with them, right?
Yes, nothing was done with them. That's what it means.
Not touched, okay.
Yes, nothing was done touched, exactly. Okay, so the summary does not claim to be the comprehensive analysis of all changes, but lists those changes that are expected to impact on required audit procedures. So the summary of these ISAs were just comprehensive analysis of all the changes and why the changes were made, but they were not supposed to impact the required audit procedures on the detailed ISAs. So let's go to ISA 200. Now the applications are coming. All right. So let's see how to, exactly. So now we are talking about the ISAs. This is where it becomes tough.
Yeah.
All right. So let's look at the ISAs now. So ISA 200 looks at overall objectives of the independent auditor and the conduct of an audit in accordance with ISAs. So ISA 200 has been revised to the first objective is set out the overall objectives of the independent auditor. So ISA 200 was revised to set, number one, the objective. What is the objective of external audits or the external auditor performing the engagement? Generally, the objectives should be stated. This is what we want to achieve. Is it to provide assurance, substantial, reasonable, or positive or negative assurance? So the objective should be stated by the internal or the independent auditor based on ISA 200. That's one. Number two, the ISA 200 should be able to explain, or the auditor should explain the nature and scope. So the nature is what kind of job are you doing? What are the terms of reference? What is stated? What am I to do? Is it an assurance engagement? Is it a compilation engagement? Is it an attestation? Is it just a review? So the ISA 200 explains the nature, then the scope. How long is it? Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years of the audit, designed to enable the auditor to meet this objective? So the nature of the scope must be stated clearly, and that's part of the requirement of ISA 200. Don't forget, ISA 200 looks at the overall objective of the independent auditor and the conduct of an audit in accordance with the applicable ISAs. This is very important. Okay, so after we've looked at the nature and the scope, we also explain the scope, the authority who is responsible, and the structure of the ISAs, and it includes general responsibilities of the independent auditor applicable to the audits, including obligation to comply with the ISAs. And don't forget, compliance is a shall, which is mandatory. So I go back on that again. So the authority is the responsibility and what powers he has, or he has as an auditor, and the structure of the ISAs that includes general responsibilities of the independent auditor applicable to all audits, including the obligation to comply with the ISAs. So let me look for a safe landing. It's already 9 o'clock, so that we can take our eyes off the screen and go on break. So let me get a safe landing quickly, so that when we come back, we are not lost. Okay, so let's look at the next few slides and we'll land, then we can stop. Well, I think we can stop here. It also explains I think we can stop here. So we'll just come back and look at new requirements, make it clear that the auditor use. Okay, so let's stop here and go